What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So, in this video, I want to talk about something that's bothering me in the media. Okay, and that is their incessant desire for Giannis Antetokounmpo to leave Milwaukee. Okay, you see it with Stephen A. Smith. He tried to disguise it as well. Milwaukee shouldn't, go for not lose anything. Maybe they should trade him. And just not get anything back for value. But you didn't see him saying that with Kevin Durant and the Warriors. You know what I'm saying? You didn't see him saying that with, say, LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers the second time. You know what I'm saying? You didn't see him saying they should trade him. They should trade them to get something of value. Um, the fact of the matter is this. People don't like superstars in small market teams. They just don't. On small market teams. They just don't. Um, whether or not it's Shaquille O'Neal with the Orlando Magic, or whether it was Prime Dwight Howard with the Magic, or just anybody. It's partially part of the reason why Tim Duncan never got a lot of the notoriety that he should have gotten because he played with the Spurs. And in spite of that, the Spurs still became the most successful NBA franchise the last 20 years, despite the fact that the NBA never really gave them their just due. All you gotta do is just watch. All you gotta do is just watch ESPN or uh, or the other network, Fox Sports, right? All you gotta do is watch those channels, and you look at the teams they talk about. They don't really do a, they don't really do an in-depth coverage of all teams. When it comes to the NFL, they only cover what? The Cowboys. The Cowboys, maybe Green Bay, whoever, is winning at that particular time, um, and Tom Brady. And notice how they're not covering the Patriots this year like they have been for the past 15, 20 years. Now all of a sudden, they give a fuck about the Patriots as much, since, you know, nigga Newton is there now. You know what I'm saying? But now all of a sudden they're covering the Buccaneers, who haven't been a really good team in about 17 years or so. Now they're covering the Buccaneers. Whatever. In the NBA, now they're covering the Lakers, of course, and a couple other teams that have stars, but mostly it's the Lakers, and who else? Maybe Houston, Golden State again next year, because Golden State has a huge fan base. And I think that's partially why the NBA ratings were down this past season. But they don't do a really good job. The media too. The NBA doesn't do a good job, but the media doesn't do a really good job of creating an educated or helping to cultivate, I should say, a more educated and more well-informed sports fan base. You know what I'm saying? But back to the main topic, man, Giannis. Look, at the end of the day, Milwaukee had to make some type of move to. Um, they had to make some type of moves. I don't think they're done yet. I don't think they're done yet. They had to make some type of moves to, um, at least for the moment, pacify Giannis. Okay, um, Giannis sees what's going on with other NBA teams. He sees that, and he knows that to compete, you have to make some adjustments. Sometimes I do get the impression that some teams overdo it, but you do have to make adjustments to stay competitive in the NBA. Most of the times you can't keep exactly the same roster and think you're going to win a championship. Sometimes, a lot of times you can't. The moves that they've made, yes, it's slightly depleted their bench, but all in all, those were upgrade moves. These moves, in my opinion, made Milwaukee a better team. In the next month or so, they can make additional moves to help shore up the depth that they've lost with those trades. And quite frankly, a lot of the players that they lost, I get this sense that they were already kind of on the precipice of on the downside of their careers anyway, like a George Hill, for instance, right? Um, but the thing that I don't get the most is that most people chastise players for joining up on super teams, right? We've always chastised LeBron James for wanting to play on super teams, right? Kevin Durant, okay, this is a guy that famously or infamously put out a tweet 10 years ago, you know, dissing LeBron James, saying, what happened to the days when we all used to compete? Then he went to Golden State 4 years ago, right? And you saw how me and other people, we laid into Kevin Durant for doing that. How the fuck you gonna join a team that just beat you 6 weeks ago? What the fuck? How you gonna join a team that just beat you? From a competitive standpoint, it seemed whack. Now, there's some things that have come out since then that make me reassess it slightly, but I still think it was a weak move. So if they get James Harden, which apparently they're going to do, that makes him even more egregious than LeBron James in trying to stack the deck in his favor. But I had to be honest with you, from people who don't like LeBron James, I'm not seeing the same smoke. You know what I'm saying? As far as in the comment section, you know what I'm saying? The shot of Ticket TV, he being on Kevin Durant ass because it's BS. You know what I'm saying? It's BS that Kevin Durant is stacking the deck like this. This is ridiculous. Y'all want to talk about Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving join LeBron James? You got James Harden, a historic scorer. I'll give him that. And Kyrie Irving, you know what I'm saying? Probably the best ball handler we've ever seen in the NBA. And a great player in his own right. And a great clutch performer. Teaming up with Kevin Durant, who is probably a top, you know, you can make the argument that Kevin Durant, pound for pound, when you're taking when you're taking the fact he's a great foul shooter, a great 3-point shooter, and a great shooter all over. Or not like Curry's a great shooter, but Curry's mid range is a little bit inconsistent. Kevin Durant can shoot from all over the floor. And plus when you take into the fact that he's 6'10", Kevin Durant might just be the greatest pure shooter the league has ever seen. I mean, have you ever seen a guy his size that can shoot 50% from the floor, 40% from three, and 90% from the foul line, other than Larry Bird? And Larry Bird isn't as physically gifted as Kevin Durant. So yeah, that's a super team. You know what I'm saying? But I gotta call out people in my comment section. Y'all that get on LeBron James for that. I don't see the same smoke for Kevin Durant. I'm just saying. And I will do a video about that. Now it appears to be official that James Harden is joining the Nets. It's it, it's fucked up, man. It's not good for the overall balance of the NBA. All these guys join together on one team. I hate it. I hated it when LeBron did it. I hate it when Kevin Durant with the Warriors, and I hate it now. It's stupid. I don't like. I mean, look, it is what it is. But me, I don't fucking like it. I'm sorry, and I'm never going to accept it. You know what I'm saying? Somebody can tell me I'm a hater and all that. Shit just sucks to me. You know, I like how Milwaukee's doing it. They're not going out and getting superstars, and you know the media want them to stack the deck and get superstars. Why? You don't need a team full of superstars to win a championship. You don't. You do need talent, but you don't need to stack the deck to win a championship. The 2009-2010 Lakers, they had talent. Kobe, of course, Pau Gasol, uh, Andrew Bynum. Yes, okay. But those guys were, first of all, Bynum was drafted, and nobody was equating Pau Gasol with the other great power forwards at the time in the NBA. No one was putting him when he was with Memphis at that same level. As a matter of fact, when they did make the playoffs in 2006, I think it was, most people credited the great Hubie Brown for turning that franchise around. Because before he got there as a coach, they weren't even going to the playoffs. So Kobe didn't necessarily stack the deck. 2004 Pistons. On paper, you look at them and you think, well, they should be able to beat the Lakers. But they did. They did beat them in five. Wasn't for that Kobe buzzer beater, it would have been a sweep. The 1977 Portland Trailblazers on paper should not have beaten the Sixers that year. The Sixers had a far more talented team. But team continuity and superior coaching will go very far. Being able to make adjustments, it will go very far. You don't need a super team. Olajuwon, when he won those championships in 94, 95, whether or not, Jordan was there, would he have won? I don't know. But I do know this. On paper, the 94 Knicks were a better team. And on 95, the Rockets, the Magic, at least as far as their starting five is concerned, was a far better team. But they still swept them. You don't need to stack the fucking deck. All you need is a team full of great players, really good players that complement one another and have good chemistry and all aboard on one each other, all on a board with a philosophy, and you know, and you have good coaching. Now, if anything, the one guy who should really be on the hot seat, not Giannis, is Mike Budenholzer, because Mike Budenholzer has shown us that he can coach a team during the regular season, but during the playoffs, when you have to make changes and make adjustments because teams see you more than just once a month or once every 2 to 3 months. They're seeing you every day or every other day now, and they're planning every day against you. Now you have to make adjustments. It's in those situations that Mike Budenholzer over the last couple of years, as a coach, has struggled. But yet, everybody wants to point the finger at Giannis. Remember, Giannis is just 25 years old. Even when LeBron James was 25 years old, it hadn't quite reached that point yet with him where everybody was demanding a title. Getting close, but it hadn't demanded a title. I'm gonna be honest with you too. Even with those 2009 and 2010 Cavaliers teams, which were really good, they both won 60 plus games in the regular season. I think in 2010, Mike Brown was coach of the year. They weren't a superstar away from a championship, in my opinion. They were maybe two really good uh, picks or really good trades away from a championship. I blame Dan Gilbert more than anything else for those teams not winning. Okay, they were getting a bunch of old, washed-up role players. It was more like they were selecting names: Shaq, Ben Wallace, and Antoine Jameson. At that point, these guys were kind of washed up, especially Shaq. Why not get a guy that could stretch the floor out like at that time a more in his prime Mike Miller, who later on would play with. Uh, Not saying he didn't try to get him, but I'm just saying. Apparently, Dan Gilbert didn't really make a lot of moves or attempt to do much. Why not get a Mike Miller at the time, who LeBron played with in Miami? Why not get a Shane Battier? You know what I'm saying? Who could help to change the team culture and perception when it came to uh, how the team approached defense, or just a combination of, I don't know, just different, really good, just below the radar role players, borderline all stars. I've always looked at those type of players as being the game changers. You know, the Robert Ory's and the Sam Cassell's and the Mario Elliott's. Certain intangibles that certain players bring rather than a superstar where, what I'm saying, look, basketball to me, real life basketball, is not like NBA 2K. where you can just put a team together and all of a sudden everything just works and they go 82-0 or 162-0 in baseball or 16-0 in the NFL and you win a championship. It's not that simple in real life. You know what I'm saying? You have egos to deal with, all these different things. People's games not meshing well. But I'll say this, and I'll end this on this. You know what I'm saying? The fact that Giannis has been able to change the culture of Milwaukee. By that I mean, up until 2 years ago, no one expected Milwaukee to do anything. Um, from the very end of the 1980s, right, when the Milwaukee franchise started to falter, like 88, 89, throughout the entire 1990s, and throughout most of the 2000s, except for that 2001 team with Sam Cassell, Glenn, Big Dog Robinson, and Ray Allen. And throughout most of this decade, Milwaukee has been a terrible team. They've had talent. They've had, Glenn Big Dog Robinson, the people I just mentioned, Ray Allen, Sam Cassell, Ben Baker, Michael Redd, Brandon Jennings had a little run. They've had some talent come through Milwaukee, but they just had a lot of losing seasons. Giannis has turned it around to the point where now Milwaukee has become a dominant regular season team. The difference is that when you have a big man like Giannis, as opposed to a perimeter guy, it's a lot easier to trap him and limit him because the big man doesn't have the ball all the time. It kind of reminds, I'm going to tell you what the situation is like a little bit, in my opinion. What it's similar to. What he's going through right now is similar to what maybe Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was going through with the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? Great big man. So great that he can, he has great player efficiency rating and all that shit. He's dominant. He's so good that his impact alone makes the team a champion, a great regular season team. But during the playoffs, that lack of a secondary threat and teams can just key in on Kareem, you know, it is what it is. But now that you're bringing in a guy like Drew Holiday, you're bringing in Bogdanovich, uh, you can't just wall Giannis off anymore and not expect there to be some type of repercussions for that. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I will say this in ending. People still don't give Giannis credit for making the Milwaukee Bucks a winning team, but yet they still give kudos to the 2016 Warriors, even though they didn't win a championship. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you still have some people say it's the greatest team ever, but they didn't win a championship. So how can you be the greatest team ever if you don't even win a championship? That's like saying, well, the greatest Boston team was the 73 Celtics who won 68 games. They didn't even make it to the finals. You know what I'm saying? People who criticize Milwaukee say, well, the regular season doesn't count. Well, in 2016, this regular season shouldn't count for the Warriors, right? Because they lost. So I don't know. I think it's just a lot of hating on Giannis. But tell me what you guys think.